Hi friends, so today let's talk about EMDR and what is EMDR. I absolutely love EMDR, and so let's begin with what it stands for. EMDR stands for eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. This is a therapeutic technique that was founded to be extremely helpful for anyone that has trauma, and it works for all sorts of trauma. Now, the story behind how EMDR was founded is that there was a psychologist that was taking a walk on the beach, and she was having lots of anxiety and lots of thoughts and lots of worries. And what she began to realize after some time is that the worries and thoughts that she had all of a sudden would dissipate or reduce, and the tension that she was feeling initially was no longer present. And instead, she was beginning to feel more calm. So she noted this several times, and so she began to ask herself, what is happening and what is going on? What am I doing that is, naturally allowing these memories to go away, or these feelings and thoughts to reduce in their stress? And she realized that one thing that she had been doing while she was walking on this beach is that she was looking back and forth between two different points, and her eyes were moving between two different points and creating some kind of relief in her brain for the anxiety that she was experiencing. So that is how EMDR began. EMDR is to So, why is it important for the eye movement to happen, or what does it mean to move the eyes back and forth? Now, with a lot of research, she and others have found that something is happening when we engage in what's called bilateral stimulation. Bilateral stimulation is when we engage in activities with our body where our right and left brain is activated and engaged. So many of you might be familiar with REM sleep. REM sleep is the sleep that we get at night when we have eye movement and our eyes are moving rapidly back and forth at night when we are sleeping, and we are processing the information and memories that we have experienced over the day. If you haven't heard, one little tidbit that is really helpful to know is that our brain actually does a lot of work at night when we are sleeping, and that is why sleep is extremely important. Now, let me get back on track with EMDR. So at night, we are having some eye movement that helps our brain to process. And when that eye movement is happening, there is a bilateral stimulation that's going on, which is in our brain, the right and left brain both get activated, and there is a processing that happens. Now, I nor do I know or want to get into all the scientific details about what happens in our brain. However, there is this shifting of information and processing of information. So information is stored in different places in our brain. We have long-term memory and we have short-term memory. We have explicit memory. We have implicit memory. So a lot of that is being processed, in different ways. And one of the major ways it happens is at night. Now, with trauma, one of the things that happens often is that we enter a state of shock. So we enter a state of shock, and the second major thing that happens when we experience trauma is that when we turn to our loved ones, usually either no one is around or they are not safe for us to turn to. So either we are alone, we cannot turn to anyone, or the people around us are not safe, or eventually when we get to safety, we turn to people and what do? They do not believe us or they invalidate us, whether intentionally or accidentally. Now, this doesn't happen all the time, and that's why some people don't experience trauma or are able to get through trauma much easier or quicker. However, that is one of the definitions of trauma. When I experience something negative, hurtful, shocking, and I turn to my loved ones and they tell me, in some way, shape, or form that I am wrong. I did something wrong. I am crazy. It's my fault. I should have done something different. So instead of having a safe space to process my trauma, to talk through my trauma, to relive my trauma, and again, allow my brain to process that information and what just happened, and to release the energy of the trauma that occurred, instead I get stuck with that traumatic energy and there is nowhere for it to move, and I have no safe social engagement with the people that are supposed to be my safe zone. They are not there for me. So then I am stuck with trauma, and that processing never happens. So EMDR uses this bilateral stimulation technique, and over the years, I believe it was in the late 70s or early 80s where this technique was found, or that's when the research began. So we are now, as I'm making this video, in 2024. So it has been more than 40 years of research with EMDR. And they have used EMDR on all kinds of trauma. The most researched trauma has been shock trauma with war veterans. So, we tend to think of shock trauma as the more extreme type of trauma. However, that's not true. Even something called developmental trauma is very hurtful, painful, and leaves an impact on our body. So they did lots of research with EMDR, with these eye movement desensitization reprocessing with memories, and they found that there was a transformation that happens and a processing that happens in the brain with the memories and the trauma that the person experiences, that then the person is able to release the energy, the negative energy of the trauma, and they're able to come back into life, and they're able to engage with their loved ones without having traumatic outbursts or without having symptoms of trauma. Okay, they are able to heal their trauma. So that is what EMDR is. It uses the bilateral stimulation that comes with eye movement. Now, in the second video, I'll talk a little bit more about EMDR and again, how it works and how it's helpful and other ways that it's been used. For this video, I've just given you a little introduction of what EMDR is. I hope you'll come back and join me and we will talk about what EMDR is. Thank you for listening, and have a good rest of the day. Greetings and peace be unto you.